Education Minister Dr. Yao Osei-Duchum is charging public tertiary institutions to allow students who get D7 have a fair shot at tertiary education. According to the minister, the institutions must create access for such students through innovative programs. Dr. Yao Osei-Duchum does not understand why the education journey of students must be curtailed simply because they had D7 in WASI. He's been speaking at the swearing in and inauguration of governing councils of some public universities.
I want you to take this as a great opportunity to contribute to socio-economic transformation. Because in my opinion, within short-term to medium-term, transformation of Ghana will happen when the tertiary institution positions themselves well and support the transformation agenda. Our gross tertiary enrollment ratio is 18.8. South Korea is 3.6. So, no nation has been able to show transformation without hitting 50% gross tertiary enrollment ratio. So, Mauritius is 40%. Good, everything is changing. Our 18% will not change Ghana, and that is why the president has set an agenda of 40%. What it also means is that you got to begin to look at your programs. More diploma programs so that all those students sitting at home with D7 will find a place in your institution. The institution that are saying, oh, we are not getting the numbers, but what happened to supporting students offering courses in diploma, electrical, engineering, and you're going to see the numbers of students going up. And then, of course, after that, they can go to work. And if they want to continue, they can continue. So we shouldn't see D7 as a barrier for students accessing tertiary. Begin to look at programs in high demand.
Dr. Osei-Duchum also adds that government is working closely with Ghana Tertiary Education Commission to allow visual arts students pursue a course and career in engineering. He explains that engineering requires creativity and impediments should not be placed in the way of visual arts students who possess such quality.
I just want you to know that you shouldn't find yourself bound by rules in such a way that you are not even thinking about how you can bring about great transformation. If there's a barrier, we are willing to work with GTech to remove it for you so that you can proceed. This year, we're going to get, for the first time in the history of this country, our students who are doing visual arts will be given the opportunity to become engineers. And the people who are engineers don't think they are going to destroy your profession. I don't think we can do engineering very well if we don't have people who are creative in the midst of it. But I'm not saying lower standards. They are going to come in and do pre-engineering and pass the same fixes and chemistry courses that you expect of everyone. And once they do that, why should we put barriers in their way? I tell of the story of Kojo Mensah, who had a dream and God was speaking to him. And God said, Kojo, you're going to be the best engineer the world has ever known. And he said, God, it's not possible. And God said, you are. He said, God, you don't know me. And God said, I created you, I know you. And he said, God, I want you to know that I'm growing up in Ghana, and in my high school, I'm doing visual arts. So I'll never be an engineer. But God knew Kojo was going to travel to America. And when he gets there, he'll become an engineer.
We are joined by Kofi Asare, who is Executive Secretary of Africa Education Watch, for more on this. Mr. Kofi Asare, I'm grateful for your time. What do you make of the suggestion that students who get D7 must be admitted, particularly into these technical universities?
Good evening and good evening to your cherished audience. I agree fully with the proposal by the ministry and the minister for that matter. In 2013, D7 students and indeed E8 students were actually permitted to enter polytechnics. And we saw that it increased enrollment by about 25%. About 16,000 more students were added to the stock then. The fact is that sometimes you really wonder why we require someone to have a pass C6 in mathematics if the person is going to be doing a humanities course that has very, very little to do with mathematics, And so if you look at the WASI pass rate, 50% of students having C6 in math. You have about another 20% of students doing about B7, whom, when given the opportunity, would be able to, transition to university and then pursue courses that may not be too mathematical. So if someone wants to go and do law in the university, I don't think that it is reasonable to request I expect that a person should have C6 as a minimum requirement. B7 is not a failure in mathematics, and for a program in humanities that involves more reading and very little or no mathematics, I think that that proposal makes a lot of sense in respect of harnessing potential that we may be losing. Many students are not able to afford the cost of remedial studies, and then some of them drop out and their tertiary education during fizzle out. Don't forget that government has a policy within the context of the education strategy plan that by 2030 we should double the tertiary enrollment from the current 19 or so percent to 40%. And you cannot double tertiary enrollment by 2030 if you are having such barriers to access, including D7s not being allowed to take part in the tertiary process. So I think that it's a step in the right direction, except that two things will have to be done. One, we need to, as much as possible, align this flexibility being offered to programs that are tilted towards the labor market demand. For instance, if our humanities system is producing a lot of marketing students and we are not finding jobs for marketing students, they are becoming a burden on the state. This D710 will have to be structured such that in areas where there is demand for skills, and in areas where we are not likely to produce unemployed graduates, the priority should be geared towards these areas. Apart from that, we need to also have in mind that when we allow D7 in mathematics or in the core subjects to progress to tertiary, the meaning is that we are going to end up increasing tertiary enrollment by about 25%, taking into cognizance what happened in 2013. Because if you have that situation, then our tertiary institutions must be ready to increase their intake, either virtually or in person or both.
Okay.
And then also the Ghanaian economy, the labor market should have the capacity to be absorbing 25% more than it is absorbing currently.
Mr. Sari, the minister also announced that visual arts students will be allowed to do engineering. Is this something that is feasible?
I think that a lot of the requirements at the tertiary level are actually not aimed at getting people who are well suited to pursue those programs to do so, but some of them are just meant to just reduce the numbers. And I have indicated to the minister once at the time that, for instance, if you want to go and do BSc Agriculture in Lagos or UCC or KNUST, the requirement is that you should do physics, chemistry, biology at WASI. So the one who does Agric at WASI has no opportunity to go and do BSc Agric because the requirement is physics, chemistry, biology. You understand? So sometimes you realize some of these requirements are mainly meant to reduce the numbers. So you find that those who are doing Agric are disappointed medical, pharmacy students or nursing students who are given the option of going to do Agric. So I believe that yes, it is possible for once you pass one, and then you are, for example, you are into visual arts, you are into the creative programs. Of course, you should be able to go and do engineering with a little access course. We call them access course.
All right.
Where you are given some enhancement, and then you are able to migrate or join your peers who did science-related programs at the WASI level, which is possible.
I'm grateful for your time. That's all time will allow us, Kofi Asare. But I guess you made the point that this is possible and it's something that we can achieve.